Welcome back, Internet people. This is part two of my video that I posted earlier, which was our credit repair company is a scam. This video is going to be more about steps that you can take to actually repair your credit and fix it. It's going to be a lot of details, so if it gets boring and you're trying to get your credit fixed, you should still watch it because I'm going to give you some details on this. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my personal experience that I had repairing my credit. I'm 41 years old and I bought my first house at 27 years old, right? And that was a big accomplishment for me. I'd set a goal for myself and I really wanted to purchase a home. The problem was when I went to college, I ruined my credit. My mother told me, keep your credit straight. She told me all of these things, but I was a typical kid. And the credit card companies came on campus. They gave us free T-shirts to apply for a card. Me, like everyone else, we got these cards, and I was irresponsible. I got my credit card, and the first thing I bought was a gold chain. I was 18 or 19 years old, and I was a fool, right? I didn't even have a job, and I bought a gold chain on a credit card. Back then, cell phones were just coming out, so we had these calling cards that we used when we wanted to call someone long distance, right? So I had friends at other colleges that I'd run up these calling cards on. And long story short, it didn't take me long to ruin my credit. After about 2 years of running up calling cards, getting cell phones, not paying them off, I had horrible credit. Now, back then, it wasn't as much information as it is now. So, when I look back on it, I owed maybe 200 or 300 on this card, $300 or $400 to this cell phone company. I was like a lot of other people, I canceled my cable and didn't turn in my cable boxes. All this little stuff just ruining my credit. And it stayed like that for a few years through my early 20s. And something just clicked into me one day. My mom, told me a couple of things. She told me, uh, keep your credit straight and don't pay someone else's rent. And what she was telling me is buy a house. I don't necessarily agree with that advice for everyone now, but for me, it was a goal that I had. So around 26, when I moved into my apartment, I told myself this will be the last apartment that I ever move into. I'm not moving out of here until I get a house. And I set a goal to purchase a home in 12 months. Now, my score was maybe 515, 520 at that point, much too low to purchase a home. But I set a goal. And so when I set that goal, though, I was laser focused on improving my credit. Some of the stuff I'm going to tell you in here, I wouldn't necessarily recommend, but I didn't know any better, right? And it worked for me. And knowing now, it's probably some things I shouldn't have done. But the first thing I did is I pulled my credit report and I went on there and I went through and I disputed everything, right? And they came back and they said you owe it. And then I did it again. And that second time, one or two things that maybe I owed it. I don't know whether I owed it or not. When you have bad credit and you run stuff up, I may or may not have owed it, but let's say I owed it. Well, they took it off my report. I thought, that's pretty cool. I didn't have to pay that and they took it off. So then the next thing I did was I reached out to all of these companies. Like I had cell phone bills, maybe I owed $400. I called these collection companies and said, hey, what if I pay you $200? Will you settle with me? And they said, yeah, but you got to pay it within a week, or sometimes they told me the same day. So I said, well, if I pay it, are you going to remove it from my report or are you going to update it? A lot of them said, well, we'll update it as paid. I said, no, if I'm paying you now, I want you to remove it completely from my report. And actually, every company I talked to agreed to do it. They sent me letters and they completely removed the collections from my report. And just for your reference, negative information stays on your credit report for 7 years. Judgments stay on there for 10 years. A lot of times, collection items are judgments, right? They've resulted from someone going to court getting a judgment against you. Not always, but so they're on there for 10 years a lot of times. So even if you pay them, that's great, but it's going to impact your score. The further away you get from it, the less they impact it. But if something's sitting on there, it's going to impact it. So this was huge for me to be able to get these companies to actually remove this information off of my report. So I got accurate information removed off by luck, just disputing it. I was able to pay and settle with some of these people and get information removed. And then the final thing, and this is where I said, you got to be strategic, and maybe it's not what I recommend. because I did some of that stuff at 18, 19, 20, I had to be strategic. Some of this stuff was going to be falling off my credit report in a year or so. So those were the last thing I paid, right? Some of them I paid even though I knew it was coming off because, I got to a point where I just wanted to do the right thing. If I owed someone money, I really wanted to pay them. I don't want to hop on a high horse and act like I did it all right. But, if I legitimately owed somebody, I did try to pay them, especially if it wasn't a whole lot. But if it was something coming off my report in 6 months, I didn't pay it, right? And wouldn't be how I handle it now, but I didn't. I said, I'm going to buy a house in a year. This thing's falling off. And it said it on the credit report. It would tell you when it was falling off. It would say, June of this year, this will be falling off. So I said, hey, I'm not moving for a year. Why am I going to take my money and pay this when I could put it towards something else that it's not falling off for 4 or 5 years, right? So long story short, I paid everything off. Had to work a lot of overtime at work, but I got everything paid off. Problem is I had nothing building positive credit for me. So I go to the bank, try to get a credit card. Of course, they declined me. And again, not knowing any better, I thought, well, I don't owe anything. I paid everybody off. I didn't realize that, hey, man, your score still sucks. It's not 515 anymore, but, it sucks. Because if you pay rent every month, it doesn't go on your credit report. It only goes on your credit report when you don't pay it. If you pay your power bill every month, it doesn't go on your credit report. It only goes on your credit report when you don't pay it. So all of these things I was paying on time, it didn't really matter. They don't go on your credit report until it goes to collections and you owe them money. And I don't really like that, but that's the way it is. So what did I do? I ended up getting a secure credit card. I found an online bank that had an annual fee. I didn't really care about it. I just needed something to start reporting positive on my credit report. Once I got that secured card, I started to see my score go up every month. I didn't run up the card. I kept the balances below 50%, but I made sure I used it enough so that I showed some type of credit history. Fast forward, I bought that house at the end of that year. My score came from 515 to maybe 640. I did a first-time homebuyer's loan where I had to take a little class, and ultimately I qualified for that home, and it was a big accomplishment for me coming from a low 500 score to be able to buy my first home within a year. And the reason I share that story is because I do a lot of videos on here, and people who meet me at this point in my life may think that I didn't go through the same things that they went through. The reason I give the advice and I tell you straight up that people lie, I tell you straight up that a lot of these things are scams is because I know firsthand. I didn't fall for them. I did it on my own, so I know that you can do it on your own. I'm not telling you that these things are easy because if you owe some money, if you owe someone $3,000 or $4,000, even if they settle with you, you still got to suck it up and pay them. But if you've got a goal, you'll start cutting some of the silly stuff out to get it straight. So hopefully you still here, you listen to my story. Hopefully you get motivated by it, you get inspired by it. But hopefully you take some tips with some things that you can do by pulling your credit report from annualcreditreport.com, disputing the items, and going through there. So again, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe to the video. And if you have some other topics you want me to discuss, I'll do that. Thanks.